Okay, ladies, now let's get information. I say, okay, ladies, now let's get information. You know you that bitch when you cause all this conversation. Always stay gracious, best revenge is your paper.
It's your girl, Courtney Lyric. Hi. It's been a while, but I'm back. And thank you for sticking with me. I actually, the podcast just celebrated, let me get my math together. It's 7th, I guess, birthday or anniversary. I did my first podcast December 31st of 2018. So if the math is wrong, forgive me. But yeah, although I did not do many episodes last year, I kind of transitioned into mostly doing like reels for TikTok. They're quicker and faster to edit. What can I say? But something is home when you always find your way back to it. So I didn't get rid of the podcast stuff. Why? Because I knew I'd be back. I'll be back. It's but I'm gonna get my life together with this setup. Oh, good news. I'm a homeowner now. Yay. I wish I had a little see if I had my life together, I would have a hand clap, a hand clap thingy right there. But I have a light and it says Courtney Lyric, but whenever I turn that thing on, it looks like the gates of heaven. Like I kid you not. Let me just show you real quick. Behold. Oh, and then that's on low. This is high. Oh. So I gotta get it together. I did not buy it. It says Courtney Lyric. Like attempts are being made. But I know y'all are used to like the posters in the background and that was in my apartment. I ain't had no choice but to record in my bedroom. So now I got an entertainment room, honey. Ooh, and I probably would do most of my podcasting back here. But I'm gonna turn that damn light off because it cannot be red. Oh. Anywho, but let's get things cracking. Let's get to it. If you follow my podcast, I actually did a podcast, or either I was featured on a podcast about season 4 of Stranger Things, and I also did one on season 3. I've been rocking with Stranger Things for a long time, and it was sad to see it come to an end. This is okay. If you're the type of person that your attention span is very short and you're not going to listen to this whole podcast, let me sum up my thoughts very quickly for you. Part 1 of season 5, excellence. What we were used to, spectacular. Part 2, meh. Part 3, not quite meh, but not quite excellent. Somewhere in between. That's my, if you're the type, you can just take that and go. But if you don't mind a little longer conversation, excuse me, I ain't got nobody water in here, no tea. It's been a while, y'all. Be patient with your girl. Like, am I slacking a wee bit? But yeah, those are my honest thoughts. Okay, so I don't know exactly what the term for it is, but I'll just refer to it as final season fatigue. Now, we all know some excellent shows. I'm talking about writing, characters, all that was there. And then when it came to the finale or the final season, they just kind of, I guess the writers was just like, we're out of a job anyway, so fuck it. Here's some examples. At least 2 that come to mind. Yellowstone. Yeah, Yellowstone. And of course, the most infamous one, Game of Thrones. Power. When I say the season finale of Power was not that, not as good as the other seasons. But so those are 3 heavy hitters that come to mind that started off strong and went all the way through strong. And then that final season, they just kind of dropped the ball. I won't say that Stranger Things was as bad as those. Because like I said, part 1 was phenomenal. It was worth the wait. Hurry up this Thanksgiving dinner. Let's get to it. It was good. Seeing, I want to call him Noah so bad, but seeing Will finally step in after being useless and whiny for 10 years, finally seeing him get active was everything. I was cheering. Like when he crumbled, when he, lifted up the demigorgons, and I was cheering. So Part one gave us everything. I was okay. I was okay with the 3 year wait for part one. Part two, I don't know. It was giving filler. It was giving a lot of dialogue, and I don't know that nobody asked for. Like, I don't like. Does anyone you know what I'm trying to say? Does anyone actually care who Nancy ends up with? Like, I mean, no shade, but I feel like we spent so much time on that storyline when she obviously wasn't really checking for either one of them. Or what I thought was gonna happen is she was just gonna return to Steve, which didn't even happen. So womp, you know, it was they were growing apart anyway. But we spent so much time in that damn painted room talking about their, he didn't got the ring just for them to break up. Like, I mean, he didn't get the ring. Um, the homie gave him the ring. I can't think of his name. The bald headed bastard. Can't think of his name right now, but he gave him the ring. But just okay. Noah, shit. Will, Will coming out was powerful, and I'm sure especially for the LGBT community, very meaningful in my eyes. And I can appreciate it because that's been something he's like. It's not like for the dummies out there, they were like, oh, making the memes. Because I'm in these groups on Facebook, so I've seen all the really low key homophobic memes. This boy been gay or been accused of being gay since like season 2. This is not new information. So him putting that out there is fine because it does kind of release our character of something he has been holding in many seasons. But the longness that it took, to me, did not add to the plot. Like, honestly, he could have just walked through there and been like, hey, motherfuckers, I'm gay, and walked out. And I think it would have still had the same impact. But I get it. I know for that community, it was a powerful moment and a special moment. I'm just speaking from a writer's perspective and from a cinephile's perspective. I didn't feel like it was necessary. Along with the 15 minutes in the now, let's get to okay, I don't want to just shit on part 2. Let's get to dialogue that was necessary. As fans, we have watched the bromance of Steve. Good grief, I can't even think of the boy's name. And Dustin really unfold since season 2. They even call him like the mom of the group, which I think is so cute. And now they're at odds after Eddie's death. And Dustin's character has had, like, people have been on the nuts of so many other characters that Dustin's character has kind of been forgotten in the conversation. There has been quite the character arc for Dustin. We have seen innocence really be lost before our eyes. Like, he has changed a lot. Eddie's death and his friendship and losing him really changed him a lot. And so Steve is like the parent who stayed. You know how that, in a 2-parent home, let's say one parent's just like, I'm out of here. And then there's a parent that's still there. They catch all the flack and the hell. They catch the resentment that the other parent isn't there to receive. That's Steve. There's this, I still love you and I still need you. And you're still like a brother to me. But I lost my other brother and I really needed him too. And there's just this resentment. And Steve ain't for it. He ain't his mama for real. He's a man. So like, shit, you acting funny with me, I acting funny with you, which not very mature. But the dialogue that they had, in fact, they had several scenes. They had the scene where they fought. I think the scene with the ladder, I think we can all agree that was needed. And it was short. It wasn't 15 minutes of foolishness. He was like, it was vulnerable. It was quick. It was to the point. I think everything about that scene was everything. Steve was giving him his full attention. He didn't overdo it with, crying too early or anything. He was giving him his full attention. He was understanding exactly what Dustin was saying in that moment because they had been bickering. When people are like bickering and there's really a underlining problem? That had been going. So Steve was originally still in bicker mode. You can't tell me what to do, blah, blah, blah. And Dustin didn't have time for it. First of all, Dustin never stopped being smart. He was always the brains of the group. Period. Even though he was fighting himself, one thing he never stopped being was intelligent. He is literally the brains of the group. So if he says the ladder gonna fall, it's gonna fall. And then when it actually fell, I admit it had a G in her feelings for real. That was necessary dialogue that pushed the plot that made sense. We as fans needed to see how this bromance was going to end, wrap up, or continue. It was relatable. Like I said, I just kind of related it to, I put it in the aspect of, co-parenting and stuff like that, but it was relatable and it was necessary. And I didn't mind not kicking Monster's ass for a few minutes for them to reconcile. Another reconciliation, obviously, Sinclair and Max. This is their stuff has been building up since like season 2. Or was she introduced in season 3? Nope, she was introduced in season 2. So they are another one who that relationship we're invested in because of these characters and their connection. He spent part 1 being by her bedside every day. So a few minutes of camera time for her to say, I'm about to tear up talking about it. I could feel you. I knew he was there. And the fact that he literally was, it wasn't like he, came one day, nurse, you good? Still in a coma? All right, I'll be back in a year. No, it was, I want to say daily. And the fact that he actually was, you know what I'm saying? Oh my gosh. If it ain't that, keep it. We like, yes. I think even the thuggiest thugs got a wee bit teary eyed during that not monologue, dialogue, um, because it was raw. You know what I'm saying? That's some real love. Like, I waited for you, and I knew you were there, and all I needed was for you to be there, and thank you for being there. I just summed it up really quick, but like in essence, that's what was being said. Necessary and very, emotionally and thought it was good. That was needed. Some of all them damn emotional moments, I keep wanting to call him Noah. Will and his mama kept having, not necessary. We know y'all love each other. The story is literally built around Joyce's love for Will. With the whole shebang started with her not giving up on finding him. We did not need 4 different dialogue moments. Where are the demigorgons? Like, come on. I mean, I'm not the type of girly at all. I'm not an action girly at all. It don't have to be blood and guts on the screen every 5 minutes for me to be entertained. Not at all. But as a anime watcher, I know filler when I see it. And part 2 was a lot of filler. It was. It was. Take it up with your grandma. Anyway, so rushing Christmas Eve or rushing Christmas night to watch that one, I did feel a wee bit let down because y'all delivered on part 1 and part 2 was kind of wow. Y'all had 3 years. Every minute on screen got to count because this is it. Like y'all not coming back for another season, and y'all made us wait. Y'all had plenty of time to make every moment, every episode count. Shouldn't have nothing felt like filler. Y'all, we're just taking up screen time. Did Netflix say you had to have 3 parts? Is that what this is? That's what it felt like. It's like I didn't spend the night at my mom's house and everything. We excited. We didn't set up, got the family around the TV, and y'all, we was just telling them how dope Stranger Things is. Y'all making us look like we lying. Duffer bro, I'm just being real. Part 2, meh. Part 3, there was action. It came in hot. There was action. We finally fought our big bad. We're finally introduced to the Mind Flayer, who is a giant spider, in so many words. And to me, it felt like that big battle that we have been anticipating for so long was very short. In fact, when we looked at the time after Vecna was technically dead, it was still like 45 minutes left, maybe 30 of a maybe a 2 hour. It was more than it was a good little minute left, and I was kind of like, that's it. And then one of our sorcerers got needlessly killed. Here's the thing. I never was a number 8 hater and I always knew she would be back. Why bring her back just to be collateral damage? Like what? Why bring her back to be just killed off so meaninglessly? The only time she even really got to use her powers is when we were showing the children that that Henry really was a bad guy. That's it. How useless to have a person as powerful as Elle here and only use her once. It was supposed to be the three sorcerers, period, taking care of Henry. If y'all was gonna kill her off, which I'm fine. Game of Thrones is one of my favorite shows. I'm perfectly used to characters being killed off. If y'all was gonna kill her off anyway, it could have been a lot more meaningful than some flunky ass soldier shooting her in the stomach. What? Boo. Absolute boo. And then y'all built her up like she was gonna be a problem. For her. I mean, that's why I say it wasn't quite meh. Cause I do like, in Mike's theory, how she ended up, but she not deserve this life too? Did she not deserve good things too? That's what I'm saying. She was collateral damage. Cannon fodder is what I heard somebody on Facebook say. I don't even know what that means, but it sounds like exactly what they brought her back to be. Y'all wait 4 seasons. Well, if she was in two, me and the math, don't judge me. I think she was in season 2. And y'all brought her back just to be on screen. It was a waste of a good character. Her gift was powerful and could have been very useful. Um, I feel like she could have been used more than she was. I feel like she was just brought back to be hated. Like for real. And for what? She's no different than Elle, except the family she found got murked. And then, okay, moving on. So part 3, the fight, the final fight, it was dripping in plot armor. It was dripping in plot armor. We got 7 humans, not even anything special, against the Mind Flayer. I'm about to call him Eddie. We got Dustin and Steve. And I love the callback to Eddie. I love that we're using, but if them sticks didn't even handle no damn bats, you want me to believe they was really doing damage to the Mind Flayer with some trash can lids and some homemade spears? They would have been the first to die because they was on the ground and they weren't well armed. Then we got, and I love the callback. We got our boy Sinclair with the slingshot. He's been the slingshot kid since season 2. That's very cute, but in real life, he is not killing nothing. With no water balloons full of acid, I guess. I don't know. So we got 7 humans. Somebody had a flame gun. I think everybody else had regular guns, and they're doing like major damage to the big bad. I mean, distracting, fine, but like no one being killed during that is wild. Um, and then we have Elle inside dealing with Vecna. The Demigorgons apparently are on strike because they are nowhere to be found. After terrorizing Demidogs and Demigorgons terrorizing us for the past decade, they have decided to go on strike. I don't know what they were doing or where they was at, but they really left their homeboy out there to fry. So it's him and Elle. And then some kind of way he gets the drop on Elle. And okay, Noah, Will, that part was cool. Will coming in, and crunching his hand up. But if anything, it should have been Elle, the 3 sorcerers, Elle, number 8, and Will versus the Mind Flayer and Vecna. And the 7 could have been handling the Demidogs or Demigorgons, whatever, as best they could. I just feel like that final battle kind of fell flat. Because keep in mind, he's like the Thanos of this universe. And there was so much build up to Endgame. I think in like the actual battle was really all of scene 3. We were in battle with Thanos for a good 30 minutes. We brought back everybody to handle this nigga. It was all hands on deck. Just the seven of us. I'm thinking the kids finna use whatever powers they didn't got. The Demi Noah, Will finna fold people up. Like, eight finna do this. On a spike you go. Wow. And then Joyce, I mean, I love a good callback. She's been the ex mama since season one. So that was cute. But I think that was more so just to put the memories on screen. And I did kind of get a little teary eyed at that part because it's finally over. But I don't, for all my Game of Thrones fans, I don't know if y'all remember the scene when Theon Greyjoy was beheading that dude in and they could tell he had never beheaded nobody in his motherfucking life. That's what Joyce was giving. It was taking. I mean, you could have fried chicken, and as long as it took her to cut his damn head off, it brought me right back to Game of Thrones when Theon Greyjoy was trying to cut that man's head off, and everybody in the crowd was like, ugh, hurry this up, because obviously it's not something you do on a regular basis. But I mean, I think all that took that long to get a chance to put in the memories of, Barb and everybody we lost to this person. So that part, okay, cool. But the overall death of the great Vecna was very it was very okay, you know. For this to be our big bad and the big bad's backup, it was over very quickly. And then this idiot military, but there's always one. There's always idiot military in the background. This seemed like they was the big bad. This is who we running from. This is who we blowing stuff up behind, and lost L behind, allegedly. But yeah. And then old girl off Terminator. I feel like her character was kind of wasted. I mean, well, she got to come back, be badass on screen. So I guess it was okay. They just kind of packed up and left when their goods were used or whatever. So I was expecting more. I was hoping for more. And emotionally, we were prepared to lose. Like, they had a scene where Steve was falling off the cliff. And maybe I knew that wasn't going to happen because let me tell you about Steve Harrington. This dude has been getting his ass whooped properly since season one. One thing, he got heart, but one thing he has done is survived. And I know he is dripped in plot armor because he didn't survive Jonathan whooping his ass. He didn't survive Billy when he was full of syrup or whatever he was full of, whooping him down. He didn't beat Demi Bats, I guess. Like, the Russian spies didn't kill him when they was whooping on him. So I knew we wasn't gonna lose him to something as silly as falling off a cliff. That would just been dumb. But we still could have lost him. But I'm glad we didn't, because actually Steve is, I believe, one of my favorite characters. So I feel like they held back with killing off core characters out of respect for the fans. And it's like, okay, yeah. But sometimes you gotta give the fans what they want. Like, would fans have been upset? Yes. But would we have been satisfied with a build-up we were waiting on? I feel like 11 and 8 being the only people to perish is low-hanging fruit. They already were talking about killing themselves. But I will say the part, makes you teary-eyed thinking about it. The part where she met him in his mind and just said L stuff. She just thanked him, thank you for being kind to me. Aww. That part was okay. I will say this. Mike didn't really bring it with the acting in that scene, to be honest. If I had, okay, and don't jump on my back. Let's be real. Let's compare the scene where Max is going blind in the house on the finale, on the final episode of season 4 to that. Who brought the noise? Who really brought which scene really just, they had Prince in the background. They had Elle. They had flashbacks. They had Mike. This was their last time ever seeing each other. And it still didn't have the emotional impact as him saying, Erica, help! Somebody help! Like, I can't see. Erica, help! I'm sorry. I think it's just a skill issue. Like, perhaps Sinclair is just a better actor because Mike, where was you at? But Elle did great. Like, she was herself. I just helped him understand my choice. She was speaking in her broken dialect like she always do. Thank you being a friend. It was sweet. And then they had, come on, I ain't gonna lie. When I heard the chords for Purple Rain, I was done. Really, when they played Dove's Cry. And y'all, I'm trying to turn the shit up. And, because I knew, your songs. When I heard, doom, 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 I already knew Prince was coming out. I'm trying to find the remote. These little maggots, I'm sorry, my children. It's already loud. We're not giving you the remote. It's already loud. This is Prince. Like, turn it up. But it's already loud. You don't need to turn it up. No. So they held the mic hostage. Not the mic, but they held the remote hostage. And I got to listen to the two Prince songs that should have been blasting our house down at the regular volume. Mm-mm. Yeah, so the people that saw it in theaters, I know they was boohooing because the lyrics are perfect. That's what I'm saying. They had everything working for them. There was no that scene not hitting you emotionally. They got the flashbacks. They got them two talking. We got Prince, Purple Rain, like such a shame my friendship had to end. Purple Rain, boom boom boom. It was perfect, perfection. So I think the people in the movies with the surround sound really probably got the best experience. Be that as it may, Mike still did not bring the noise with his acting. This girl is literally finna die. I needed more from him as an actor. I needed more. He should have got with Sinclair and took some notes. Cause baby, every time it was something with him and Mike. Baby, that snot was flying, the tears were there. I don't know what he channels when he talks to her, or when he does his acting, but he should have gave his homeboy some notes because I'm like, is he even all that sad? But him in the end being the one that ends up alone. Although Mike has never been my favorite character, I did feel sorry for him because like everybody got their happy endings, and he just has to kind of live with this unresolved, dare I say, guilt. Unresolved. You know, a lot of people online were like, "Oh, he'll never move on. He'll never love again." That's not true. He will. But will he always think of her? Yeah, yeah. Because that's what Elle would have wanted. She didn't sit around and mourn me forever, never move on with your life. No. But I get it. And I think a lot of people relate to him ending up being the one that's just kind of the storyteller, the fun guy, yeah. Because it's relatable. Some of our friends moved on and did excellent things, and we're just kind of, you know, I'm okay, like that. Like, so I think that was very relatable. I definitely feel like I said, I didn't say it was all bad. Season 3 wrapped up the storylines pretty good. They left a few people hanging, but our main characters, we got like, even though I was expecting Will to die, I will say that I'm so happy that he moved somewhere and found his tribe and got to be himself. I'm happy. He deserved that. That boy had a traumatic ass childhood. At least one of the sorcerers got to know peace. Why the female ones had to die? But I am glad for that. And then Joyce and Hopper getting engaged. Hopper's had a bad hand too, so I'm glad if nothing else he got that. Hopper's had a bad hand. His original wife and daughter. Well, they didn't both die. The daughter died. Then they got divorced. He's lost Elle. Like Mike is not the only person that lost somebody. This is literally the girl he's been raising. So her name was Jane Hopper. So excuse me. He's not the only person, that lost somebody. Mike, sitting there all sad. This was my second chance and I failed again. It's probably what he feels like, but I'm so glad he got to know peace. And as a writer, I get it. If Mike's new journey is just telling their stories in some kind of way through literature, it's still a beautiful thing. But it's not what everybody else got. And then, I won't cry. But remember, she drew the picture of them in the movie theater before she got Vecna'd. And then, of course, they end with the two of them in the movie theater. Like, the protection that he just showed for her is, in my mind, if a high school senior can do all that, get it together, man. But for real, like it was beautiful to see. It was. And we don't know what happens with Erica, but according to the web, oh, she's a side character, so we don't need to know. The Russian homie or the homie that speaks Russian, I really thought he was gonna be been dead, but he's been holding it down. We could have seen a little something, with him, but whatever. Dustin coming into his own. I'm still the nerdy, I'm still the brains, but I got a little bit of rebellion in me. And I got a little bit of, I need to slick the hair back like Steve. I got a little bit of that too. Him coming into his own and going to college and remaining the smart, just lovable guy he is and keeping his bond with Steve really was a great ending. It really was. So I mean, that part I do like. The four older ones coming together and talking about, that was so relatable because them little years right after high school. Oop, bump the mic. Little years right after high school, and it can, it can be real. I saw a meme that was going around with a picture of that scene, and it was like, we as adults know that monthly meeting is never going to happen. And there's some truth to it. Like, I had to start a friend chat from my like main clique of girls from high school, and and that's what we have that chat. At the time I lived in Texas, so, and they were still, two of us lived in Texas and the other two were still in Louisiana. So, well, three of us live in, anyway, you get what I'm saying. And there was no group chat back then, so you really had to show up in person, and life be life, and it don't even be intentional. Sometimes you get caught up in work, being a husband, being a wife, being a mother. But I do believe if you really want to, I don't know about once a month, but they could definitely make some pop once every 6 months. And maybe every time everyone's not available to go. But if, never happening again, I don't think so. You don't go through something that traumatic, like surviving that shit and just never see each other again. Even if it's just for Thanksgiving when we come home to eat and stuff, or whatever. Like, I do hope they put the effort in. I know it's not real, but I do hope they put the effort in to keep that friendship somewhat intact. And then back then was three-way. Oh, baby, in middle school, we did some three-way, honey. Okay, there wasn't cell phones. Okay, there wasn't group chat. What is a three-way? If we can't meet in person, we still need to talk. So I think some people, some modernized adults were kind of projecting how they treat their friends and their loved ones onto what they assume would happen with them. If the effort is always there. There's always a way. Even in the 80s, there was a way. You call Sally, I'll call Sue, we on the six way. And we're just on the phone, just jaw jacking. There's always a way. So I feel like they probably did, to some degree, keep connection with each other. But I did see a lot of people online being like, nah, we grown ups, we know how that go. And it can go that way. It can, you sometimes you forget to check the group chat. Sometimes when there's a invite, you can't make it because you can't find a sitter. Like, life be life. And I think it was good to see both dynamics of wrapping up high school and heading off into life, and those of them that were already off into adult life. I think Steve being a coach is great. He was really trying to find his way. He didn't want to work for his dad. And why not, utilize the gifts I have? Y'all call me a mom anyway. Jonathan going off and working in film, Nancy following her, just it'd be like that. And it was realistic and nice. It was, so it was a nice moment, seeing the grown up kids and the younger kids transition from this really traumatic wrap up of some craziness. I hate that the Magic Girlies didn't get their happy ending, and I really feel like they could have, but I didn't write it. So if you see some good fan fiction where my girl 8 is better used and lives, and 11 too, and cool. A lot of people have been doing AI and making like an ending where they are off at the place with the 3 waterfalls and It's nice to think of. But did it have to be done? It had to be done because 8 was right. Them people was never gonna stop. Even if they escaped, they were going to keep trying to look for her and they would eventually find her. They have the resources to do so. But the illusion of them both dying, that 8 could have pulled off because it's her gift. And instead of that, we got, I mean, they could have put it off for some time. If something came up, as technology progressed and they got a still frame of them somewhere on the street, up now the manhunt is on again. So perhaps death was the only way. But it's been an interesting ride. I loved it. It was well written. It was unique. The acting was great. The casting was fantastic. Camera work there. Like, even if you're not into sci-fi, it took nerdy shit and made it mainstream. People had never even heard of Dungeons and Dragons, and it's in your living room. Like they did the damn thing. Was the final season as strong as it could have been? No. And shout out to Erica. There's more I can say, but I actually have a repairman coming over, so it's like I didn't really get to talk about the Sinclair siblings how I would like to. I have thoughts, but in essence, I end up loving both of them. Like I will admit, when they both were introduced, they came off very harsh, and it was leaning very, very strongly towards aggressive black. Not gonna lie, but with time, especially Sinclair, you know, I was like, okay, he's a real G. Like he really just cares for his friends. And honestly, him being hesitant in season 1 made sense. But it did come off as aggressive black, and I don't know how I felt about that. And then when she was introduced, it was like sass mouth McGee. And I was like, damn, like, what's up with this household? But it's fine. Like, I mean, I guess it's fine. The one thing I do like that they kept in the spear that they were extremely smart. Erica was a brilliant scientist, like very smart. I love that. She can be sassy all she wants as long as she got brains. And then, her scene with the pie, and then she was helpful in the end, her and the teacher. This situation demands some cussing. It be like that, girl. It be like that. So I guess in a nutshell, I think that kind of wraps up, how I feel about the finale as a whole. Oh, before I go, kudos to Jamie. I was introduced to him when he was one of the Volturi in Twilight. He always is a asshole villain, but he played Vecna well. I think Henry was probably more interesting than Vecna. Vecna was just like a blobby monster that walked around and talked in a deep voice. Yeah. Predator with more dialogue. But Henry, however, had many layers, and I think Jamie did a great job of, you know, displaying them all. He was still human under all that. And I do want to see the play. Not that I like when they try to humanize villains, but I wouldn't mind seeing the play because first of all, Stranger Things is Duffer Brothers, so it's probably gonna be good. And just getting a little bit of feedback is nice. Not feedback, but like getting a little bit of information on Vecna / Henry / Ones. This nigga go by many names, but getting a little bit of feedback on him. Interesting. I would much rather see it in person, but you know how that go. So probably. Oh, and they have not an anime, but a cartoon version of, I guess, between seasons 2 and 3. They got a little cartoon version that's coming out, and of course I would be watching that. So we haven't seen the absolute last of Stranger Things. And of course, all you fan fiction guys and girlies out there, keep it coming. Make your memes and your videos and your fan art. I love when a season ends and then here comes the fan art. Not that crazy about AI, but the fan art really do be fire. So keep it coming. I definitely think it was a cultural staple in television for Netflix. It's sad to see it go. They damn sure had us waiting a long time. Was it fully worth the 3-year wait? I feel like they could have gave us this in a year. They had a $400 million budget. It must have went mostly to retaining the rights of that Prince song and the Diana Ross song. because I would say this was their most tame season. Like they've been balling up children, killing folk, breaking necks. Demi Gordon's eating off faces since season 1. And it's like this one was just kind of tame. But anyway, I gotta go. Thanks for hanging with me.
I am the stone that the builder refused. I am the visual, the inspiration that made ladies sing the blues. I'm the spark that makes your idea bright. The same spark that lights